Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Trey, and I want to talk about reboots and cartoons. And the reason why I want to talk about reboots and cartoons is because I'm getting kind of tired of this whole it's not made for you, it's for the kids or whatever, or it's a cartoon or whatever. And I just hate that argument because cartoons weren't even originally made for kids. So like, let's get that crap out the window any goddamn way. Yes, cartoons now are mostly targeted for kids, but there are adult cartoons. There are animations out there that is targeted for a mature audience. You can't keep using cartoons and trying to be like it's for kids or whatever. We don't say, oh, it's live action, so it's for kids. No, you know what I'm saying? We got to kind of figure out a balance, but you got to stop putting cartoons in this one area of entertainment as if cartoons haven't been around since the 1920s. I mean, not 1920s, but since like the 1930s. You know what I'm saying? And it's getting kind of tiring and old. I mean, you have this whole sequel to Space Jam that nobody asked for, redesigning the characters that nobody asked for. You have the He-Man Revolution where Teela done shaved off half her head. Most likely it's going to be a lesbian. Probably most likely going to be the main character, even though the show was about He-Man. He-Man's grandfather been changed to black because reasons. You know, they're going to kill off Orko because, you know, reasons. Then you got Thundercats Roar that makes fun of the old classic Thundercats and stuff like that and call the fans poopy doo-doo stinking heads. Like, who does that? Who does that? Then, you know what I'm saying? When is enough for this kind of nonsense? All of these reboots of cartoon shows are getting kind of annoying, and it's getting to the point where it's tiring. You can't take an IP, especially an IP that's a cartoon, right? And not expect you to get the old fans, because remember, the old fans are now either grandparents or parents now that you're getting, and you're bringing these cartoons back, but you're changing what people loved about these cartoons. There's a reason why a lot of these franchises last as long as they did, and they lasted without changing the coreness of the characters, and that's what's happening. You guys are changing the core factor of these characters. You're either falsifying who the main character is of the show. You're race changing the characters. You're changing some of the characters into LGBT characters or whatever. You gender swapping the characters. Then you're changing the design of them to make them either less appealing or whatever and stuff like that, just for a children's audience. And it's just like, at some point, you got to stop using children as an excuse and start understanding, like, when you take an IP that has years on it, that has fans who are still alive to this day, you cannot get mad that they're going to react to it. You cannot get mad that they react to it. You guys always want to do reboots, but you don't want to do anything brand new. So the audience that you want, so all of the political nonsense that you want, put it into your new show. Don't come over here with Batman, Looney Tunes, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Spider-Man, X-Men, you know what I'm saying? Don't come over here, Star Wars, don't come over here with your political nonsense and ask to make changes in those industries just because you don't like what most people like about the stuff. They've been around for a lot of these properties have been around for almost 80 years for a reason. You don't have properties running longer than 40 years plus for no reason if they didn't like the franchise to begin with. There are way more people who like the franchises as they are than there is people complaining about the change that you make. And then guess what happens when you reboot? The reboot is never looked upon well anymore. Nobody talks about the reboots anymore. There are a few exceptions to the rule, of course, like the new DuckTales and the 2011 Thundercats show and the 2003 He-Man show, because they respected. And then the 2000 Transformer shows, they're looked upon fondly because they respected the source material. They respected the audience. They didn't drastically change stuff to the point where it was unwatchable, and they sure as hell didn't go into books. I mean, they sure as hell didn't run their mouth about how terrible the fans are or whatever. But now you guys think you guys are allowed to talk bad about your fan base, the fan base that's been moving your product a long time. I mean, for God's sakes, right now, G.I. Joe Snake Eyes is being changed from white to Asian, and now you got the Asian creator feeling over here changing his look on it, who's like, yeah, I guess it was a bad idea to make a white guy Snake Eyes when I could have made him Asian. What the hell? Then you got Cobra Commander, where they're like, oh, his hood is problematic or whatever because, you know, it's offensive to some people. Guess what? There are going to be things that offend people in this world, and that's something you got to get over. But if majority people like it, who cares about the little people? I'm sorry. It's not enough people who are offended by something that can make up for the amount of people that like the stuff or whatever and stuff like that. And we're talking about entertainment. I'm not talking about anything outside of entertainment, because all of that, the other stuff, that is a hit or miss thing. But what I'm strictly focusing on is cartoons. Like, for instance, Hanna-Barbarian is supposed to be coming back with a cartoon, right? And give me a second. I gotta remember the name of the darn cartoon show. It is called Jellystone. It's a new series that's going to be premiering on HBO Max, and it's going to have a lot of the Hanna-Barbarian classic cartoons, but they put it in the style of Chowder. Now, I was growing up during the time as Chowder, and I hated Chowder. Chowder looked gross to me. And my thing is, how are you going to reboot the Hanna-Barbarian cartoons when they already have a look and a feel and a style to them, and make them fit into the world of the creator of Chowder? That doesn't make any logical sense. You see what I'm saying? Or the fact that you had to change Lola Bunny to fit Zendaya instead of keeping the Lola Bunny that most people remember, that most people are familiar with. It's not even about, oh, people want to screw a bunny or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, she looked appealing. She looked like a woman. She was a woman character. You know what I'm saying? And the show was, the character design was still made for kids or whatever. But it was also because they knew adults were also going to watch it too. So why even change something that wasn't broken? She became a fan favorite character for a reason. And they still treated her like a character. It's like you guys don't want these characters to succeed. These desexualizing women, making them look like men, making them look unappealing and unapproachable, has turned people off from these shows. Or you're making the characters you're making the main characters mostly female that nobody asks for. And if you're not doing that, then you're taking the characters and you're making them part of the LGBT community that nobody asks for. Because reasons. But this is supposed to be for children, you guys say. But it's not. It's not. It's self-gratification for some lonely weirdos who never felt accepted. That's what it feels like. But all of this stuff about, we wonder why people don't like our stuff or whatever, and you wonder why people keep going to anime and manga. Like, I don't understand what you're not understanding. Anime and manga has so many different things for everybody. You just have to go out there and look for it. But what they're not going to do is, one of their most popular right now, their most popular anime right now, I'm going to say Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer in the manga. Right now, the creator isn't going to change everything about it to accommodate a few people who don't like this. Well, I don't like this. I don't like this. Well, I don't think this. Blah, 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 blah. Like little trivial stuff. Or I think there need to be more gay characters. Or I think there need to be more black characters. And why the main character has to be male? Why the main character is not female? They're not thinking about that. They are trying to make stories that are appealing to people in general. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, there are other mangas. Or another thing is, they're not going to bring back, like for instance, Toei brought back Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z, right? Old classic animes, right? But what they didn't do is, they didn't sit up there and change the art style where the characters look ugly from their previous incarnation. Whereas the animation is piss poor sloppiness. You know what I'm saying? or the characters are completely different from what they were in the manga. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, they're not going to do that. They're not going to change the iconic looks and feels of the characters. And that's what Western cartoons problem is. They always trying to bring these characters back or whatever, or bring these IPs back, but they want to change everything about them. They want to change the iconic looks and feels of these characters and then get mad that people don't want to deal with them anymore. You can't get mad at that kind of stuff, but you got to stop trying to attack the fans, because I'll tell you this, and I'll say it again. When you work on an IP, you don't get just that IP. You get the good, the bad, the ugly from it. So that means you get the issues that it had in the past, you get the fans that it has, or whatever. You have the criticism that it had back in the past, or whatever, stuff like that. Your job isn't to focus on what can I do to change everything around. Now, you can make little tweaks here or there, or whatever, stuff like that. But when you're drastically changing characters, when you're drastically changing their personality, when the story gets drastically different, or whatever, or when the characters are only in name only, you could have just created an original show at that point. But stop getting mad that old school fans have a problem with these new rebooted cartoons and shows. Then if you don't want that to happen, don't reboot the shows anymore. Let them stay dead. I'd rather you let the IP stay dead than to use the IP forever and keep constantly changing it to the point where they're unappealing. Because you guys done it so much that a lot of people walk away from these IPs, and then you get mad that you try to go back and get the old fans. Well, if you had targeted the old fans in the first place, we wouldn't be in this mess. I already told y'all, these IPs that you guys are having, a lot of the people have grown up with them. A lot of them are now grandparents, are now parents themselves. So it makes sense to target that audience demographic, especially if you want them to get their grandkids or the kids to watch the show. But when you have people on Twitter or Instagram or whatever and stuff like that talking about how trashy the characters were originally, how sexist they were, how racist they were, how the fans are trolls, how the fans are toxic man baby trolls who need to go and touch grass and live in their mom's basement, all that kind of stuff. And then you get mad that you're not getting any ratings. You're getting mad that people are buying the old stuff and the new stuff is sitting on shelves, rotting there, or the new show doesn't last as long as the old show. I mean, you got to make your choice, but you got to stop attacking the fans, and you got to stop destroying the IP itself. Stop deconstructing the IP. Keep the IP how it was. I'm not saying you can't add a little few tweaks or here or there or whatever, but when you start trying to change the characters for political means, or try to please a certain group of people who ain't never watched it in the first place, you lost this argument, and you lost the entire reasoning of why even bring it back. So think about it for a minute. Just stop attacking people who love cartoons or who have a fondness of these cartoons, because you want them to pass this on to the next generation. And I can tell you, most of the cartoon stuff that you guys are making now for kids, most kids aren't watching it anymore because it sucks. And the only people that are watching it is the audience that you don't want in the first place, because they're watching it to criticize how stupid this was. Yeah, you might have a few weirdos who like it, but it ain't enough of them to accumulate the loss of fans that you lost the first time. But those are my thoughts. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.